it's Becky, and today we are going to be making a memory wire cuff using the Silversilk pipe chain that came in the most recent Sam's Bead box. And I just wanted to show you guys how I'm doing it. Also, I apologize for the lighting. It is noon right now, and I am only able to do this because I've got studio lights, because we are having some weather with a capital W right now. This is outside my window. But I didn't want to wait for a better weather day to do this because I'm really excited about making it. There are some fantastic special beads in this box that I wanted to use, and this is one of my favorite ways of using pipe chain to stick some memory wire in it, make myself a little bangle, and have some sparklies, or maybe not so sparkly, depending on how we're feeling. Now, I've done one before. I have another tutorial that I made this with, and I used beading thread and a needle, and I just threaded it into and under the knitted chain, the knitted wire that surrounds the tubing of the pipe chain. And so I will put a link to this tutorial down below. I do not have a tutorial yet for this type of cuff because this was just one that I made when I was bored and I wanted to make it. The beads that I used for this were some leftovers from Jesse James Bead mix that was done in the Mermaid Makers party that they had this spring. So with this one, I went ahead and used some beading wire to wrap it around the outside of the pipe chain. And that's what we're going to be doing today with this pipe chain. And for this one, I used 24 gauge wire, and you can see it looks great. And I wanted to see if we could do it with some 22 gauge wire. I'm pretty sure it'll look just as good. But that should give you an idea of, you can use different types of wire for it. So I'm just going to pull this out so it's not in that package anymore. Get these end caps. These are glue-in cord ends that you can put like leather in and that sort of thing. They have a little hole on the end. And they came in the box with this. There are also pipe chain end caps that Nile sells on his site that cover up the ends of the pipe chain because it can get a little bit pokey with the edges of this pipe chain out there. There's a lot of things that you can do with pipe chain, and we're probably going to be finding out more things to do with it with the demonstrations that Nile has planned to do with Sam's Bead Box. But I wanted to do one of my favorite things to do with this, and it looks like I have exactly enough to be able to do this with. So we're going to do that with some memory wire. And I've got some memory wire here. It's just some gold memory wire. This came in my curated bead box. I actually haven't bought memory wire in like forever because they always send in their findings pack some memory wire, and it's just fantastically convenient to just have that on hand in your stash. So we're going to have some pipe chain. We've got end caps. We've got memory wire. We have 22 gauge. I'm using vintage bronze color because bronze is one of the colors. This is a mixed metals box. It's one of the colors, and I thought it would make a good contrast to the gold chain, this nice light gold chain that came on the outside of this pipe chain. So the tools that we're going to be using is for cutting the memory wire. I am using some memory wire cutters because I am not going to be ruining my flush cutters on memory wire anymore. In the video that I'm going to be linking below for this one, you'll see me cutting it with my flush cutters. Don't do that. Don't be like me. Get some memory wire cutters if you use memory wire at all, because that way you won't have to buy your flush cutters in bulk like I was doing, and you can do that. And I'll put a link to this one that I bought in the comments or in the description so that you can grab one of these for yourself if you want. It's well worth it, in my opinion. But I am going to be using my flush cutters to cut my wire. Let's see, I'm going to be using, where are my round nose pliers? Let's pull these out. I'm going to be using these to make some curls on the ends of the beading wire to the curls are necessary for linking the ends together like that, and you know, just keeping the end caps from sliding off. These are, by the way, these are the Silversilk end caps. This is a dark colorway, and you can buy those on the Silversilk and More site. I'll put a link to all of that in the description as well. This one I'm using glue-in end caps for cord ends for this one. And so we're just going to be using the findings that came in the box for this project. All right, have I gone over all of my things? I am going to be using some pliers for bending the memory wire, because we are going to bend it as we're working with this. So these are all of the bits and bobs and the things that we're going to be making this with. We should also plan which beads we're using, because there are so many like special beads in this box and so many cool beads in this box that I think will be fantastic in a bracelet. Some of them are a little long for my purposes. Some of them are going to be just right. See, these two are actually longer than those two, I think. They look it. So maybe these guys. And now, should we have one of these big green guys in the center, or should we pull out? Actually, nope. No, I'm going to save these for another thing, although these would be fantastic across the center because they are all different colors and it would give it a nice eclectic look. Maybe. We're planning things with Becky. I am going to probably be using these for earrings since there's two of them. Let's see. I'm going to want things that kind of taper toward the edges as we go down. Oh, I think I like these. I like the way this is looking. Let's see if it's going to be long enough. I have a mark on my board right here that tells me how long I'm going to want my cuff to be and how everything will fit into it. So let's just see if this will line up nicely. You could use like some of these wood beads too. That would look fantastic sandwiched in here. Some of these beads would also look great with that. These turbine beads. There are so many fantastic beads in this box to work with. I am... Alright. This is not going to be long enough. We're going to need a few extra beads for this. So I do want these smaller beads to kind of be in the edges and sort of some medium-sized beads. Let's grab a couple of these. And maybe this guy. We'll just sneak them in there. See how we're doing with it, and maybe we do want some of these. Fantastic beads in here or between these. No. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm working on it. Actually, no, I want these switched around. I'm just trying to get them in the right order for us to be able to. I think that might be too many beads. Is it too crowded? Let's see. One more. This one. This might be too many. In which case, I'm going to pull that guy out and we'll save that special bead for another thing. Let's just see how we're doing. Okay, so that'll do us. That'll get us a nice row of beads to sandwich in our cuff. All right, so I'm going to get these guys off of here so that they are out of the way. And I will show you guys how to get this cuff started with the wire. All right. Now to figure out how much wire you're going to need, I will usually wrap this around my wrist twice. Like so, and then give myself maybe an extra inch, and that's where I'm going to be cutting my memory wire. And again, we're going to use our memory wire cutters because we do not have an unlimited budget for flush cutters in this house. Not anymore. And now I've got basically a double wrap of memory wire. And I'm going to want to find the middle of this. So to do that, I'm just going to pull on both sides, and where both of these ends meet, let me scooch in a little bit so you can see better. Where both of those ends meet, that's going to be my midpoint. And I'm going to grab that midpoint with my pliers. And we're going to bend it trying to get this. All right. I'm going to bend it in a V shape. Let me just get that V shape sharpened up a bit. All right, and we're going to want some room at the end for the bead caps and for the pipe chain to have. So that's a pretty good V for us to use. And this is the first part of making these cuffs, is just getting the wire cut and then bending it. All right, next part is going to be getting the end caps and the pipe chain strung on the memory wire. And sometimes this can be a little fiddly because the pipe chain latex that it makes up the pipe chain, sometimes it'll grab onto the wire and it won't want to move past it. But I'm just going to put both of these ends together, pull down to this end here, and I'm just going to cut this in half right here. And you'll see there's some little pokey outy ends. You can just pinch it and pull, and that should get most of those pokey outy ends straightened out or pulled off, and then they will be covered by the end caps. All right, I'm going to do this one at a time. I'm going to put the end cap on first with the butt, the one with this hole on, facing the V. So hole first. That way it goes all the way down to the bottom, right there. And that's where we're going to try and get our pipe chain on. So let's scooch this guy along. And I said it would be fiddly, and maybe it won't be today. I mean, humidity is going to play a big part in like how grippy it is and how grippy it's not. And it is an extremely humid day today in Texas, where I am at. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Come on, buddy. I'm like, I am not complaining about this weather because it has been so long without rain. We absolutely need it. Our lake levels are down. That's where we get our drinking water. Aquifer levels are down. We've been on water restrictions. They actually cut off water for an entire group of people here in town because they weren't adhering. They were like wasting like millions of gallons of water. And like just unapologetically so. I mean, yeah, you can fine them, but a fine is just a price, right? That's how much it costs them. All right. And this is fiddly because you've got this other little bit that's going to flip around and try to get in your way. Once you get the pipe chain on, it's going to be a lot easier to control. I'm just pushing gently, a little bit at a time, to try and get this pipe chain threaded onto my memory wire. I think it might be digging into it a little bit, so let's pull it back out. Try a little bit more. Oof. You know, I'm gonna leave this one alone and let it think about what it's doing. And I'm gonna work on the other end while that's having a timeout. I don't know if you guys ever have to do that, where like things are being difficult and you gotta let it sit for a little bit, think about what it's done. Look how much easier that one was. See, why can't you be like your brother? So I've got one end on. You know what? This might end up being a little bit shorter than the other. That's fine. I think that's going to be fine. This is how much pipe chain we had. We're going to work with it. All right. Now, I'm going to pop this on while it is behaving. And then I'm just going to make myself a little loop here. Form this guy around. Remember, memory wire cutters. And I'm just going to cut off the end of this so that when I join my two loops, actually probably gonna need to cut it a little bit closer to that. It doesn't need to be a perfect loop. All right, now let's pull this off and start over again, because obviously it works for one of them. It's gonna work for the other. And like I said, it's fiddly. It might take a little wiggling, but it will go on eventually. So I'm gonna start from the other side. Just roll a little bit at a time. Maybe don't straighten it out. Maybe let it follow its natural curve. Take a deep breath, try again. And it's getting about partway in, and I think this is a little on the sharp side. Do I have my file handy? Just gonna maybe file that down a little bit so it's not poking into it. Or you know what, maybe just try another snip. It is still sharp. I'm going to be cutting off extra anyway, so I'm just going to try and get this a little bit more flush with my cutter. So that it isn't poking into just curving it at the point where it goes past to try and get it from trying to be straight on here. It's stopping partway as it gets grippy, digs into the rubber. Let's rotate it a little bit. Like, you saw how easy this one went on. So it's not going to be difficult all the time. And I'd rather not just go past this and pretend like it won't be difficult, because it might. It might be difficult for you. If that's the case, I'm going to go find my metal file, and I'm going to file the end of this because it's kind of sharp there, and I think that's what it is it's digging in to the rubber. So I'll be right back. So I bought a set of metal files and I use them for the ends of my earring wires when I make my own earring wires. Basically, I'm just going to use it on the end of this to make it a little less sharp, a little less pokey, so that it's not grabbing onto and digging into the rubber as we're trying to get this wire through the pipe chain. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that feels less pokey. And that went on so much easier. So yeah, if you're running into issues like I did, try and get the end of your memory wire less pokey. Okay. Now I'm going to put on my other end cap. We're going to make another loop, and then I'm going to join those loops together. See, it's kind of sticky outy like this. If you just pinch it on the ends and then slide your end cap in, you can glue these on if you want. I'm not concerned about gluing them in because they're not really going to go anywhere. They're not going to move. The loops will kind of hold the pipe chain and these in place. So let's get our just pulling this around. It takes some effort. You can do it. I'm just opening this up wider so that I can fit my wire cutters into the appropriate place. Okay. Now I'm going to open this loop. I'm going to slide this loop on and then close that loop. Sorry, that was probably off screen. And now I have the basics of my cuff. I think because there's so much room in here, I'm going to do a little bit of chain with a lobster clasp to make sure that it will stay on. With these ones, because they're so close together and they overlap, I don't need to. They'll stay on for the most part unless I'm doing some really vigorous work. But for this one, yep, we're gonna add some hardware to the end to make sure that it stays on the wrist. And it is not as long as the other ones, so I'm not going to need as many of these beads. I'm just going to pull these guys out because they were just there to pad it, to get us out there. And whoop. Yep, and that one. All right, so my original layout seems like it was probably a good plan. Now I want to make sure that my center bead is truly centered. So I'm going to start from the middle outward with my wire wrapping. And to do that, I am going to pull off just a crap ton of wire. Oh, there we go. And by crap ton, I mean we're going to be doing a lot of wrapping. So I'm just going to pull off about an arm span's length of wire, which is a lot of wire, you might be thinking, to be working with, but I'm only going to be working with half of it, at a time. You can always add more wire if you run out halfway through this. I'm just going to start with about what I want. All right. Yeah. Another consideration when you're choosing your wire is going to be making sure that your beads will all fit on it. So let me just do that real quick with this wire, because sometimes check glass beads or gemstone beads might have a smaller hole. Usually 22 gauge is great about that. It's fantastic. I'm just checking hole sizes. That one works. Yep. And it looks like these will all work. So I'm just going to find the middle of my wire by holding both ends together, drawing this down. I don't want to have a real sharp bend in this though. I just want to know that this is where this is going to drop to. So I'm going to string my, you can I don't think it'll work as well if you pre-string them. Put this guy on here. Let it drop down to that little U-bend that I had. It's the middle of my wire. And one wire I'm just going to move out of the way. And then I'm going to find the middle point of this, which it looks like it's about there. And I am going to start with this right there in the middle. And I'm going to wrap twice around the top. If I'm holding it this way, like a Cheshire smile. One, two, twice around the top. I'm going to come out through here. Be careful that it doesn't kink. It can be easy to do that when you've got a long piece of wire that you're working with. And then I'm going to wrap it twice around the bottom. I'm going to just turn it over so that the bottom is the top. Let's do that. I'm going to take the end, feed it through, and then push this down around the top with my fingers. Fantastic. So this wire will go in this direction, and this wire will go in that direction. So I will come back to that after I wrap this side. So I'm just going to scooch the wire a little ways away because this is going to be way too close to this bead for my next bead. And I might just do a third wrap around it to move the wire along the length of the pipe chain. And you can adjust how many wraps, the spacing between the wraps. You can use your fingernails to move those or some pliers. I want loose spacing between my wraps so you can still see the pipe chain between them. Then I'm going to take my next bead, string it on my wire, push that up into place. That's where I want it. And now I am going to wrap down here with the same wire that I have been wrapping with. Let's do, I think 2 wraps will get me to where I want my next bead to be. Yep, 2 wraps got me right there. So this is where I'm going to put my next bead. I'm going to go over the top. I'm going to do two more wraps. Now my next bead is kind of squat, so it's shorter than these two beads, but also thicker, so it's possible that I might need to do more than 2 wraps around this side in order to get my wire into the right place for my next bead. Yep. So let's get this guy in here. It looks like a D20. I think that's one of the reasons why I like these like English style cuts. It looks like a D20. It is very much a roll for initiative kind of a bead. All right, and this is still a little bit too close to this, so I'm going to do 3 wraps. And that gets me there. I can put this one on. Like, this part is just, it's the icing on the cake, basically. It's just the decoration once you get the memory wire through and you've got this connected. You can shift things around if you need to. All right, and I'm going to do 2 wraps around for this one. And I may actually grab another one of these. Because I don't think this will fill up this space completely. So I'm going to grab another one of these clear gold lined crystal beads to have it next to that one. Or like my original plan with these. Yeah, I'm gonna have this guy just kind of sneak in there to fill this out a little bit more. All right, now I need to come up through this because you want, each time you finish the wrap, you want to finish it with the wire in front of the bracelet so that it goes around the next one. And I've got a little bit of a kink. Just gonna work this out with my fingers so that when I slide my bead on, it will actually place where it needs to be. And that's the thing, is if you start at the center and you find that your spacing is off, you can add or remove beads as you're going, just like I did there. This is a really, really easy way, once you've got the pipe chain on the memory wire, to make a fantastic bead with some bracelet with some special beads and have something fun to wear. All right, let's get two wraps. And again, you want it coming out and being in front. Next bead is going to be this little green guy here. It doesn't have to be like symmetrical. You can have random beads. You can do all that fun stuff. And the one that I did with seed beads and beading wire, it's not completely symmetrical because it's different colors of beads in different places for the mermaid glass. And I used a bead mix for the seed beads, so I just randomly grabbed whichever seed beads were on there. I've got a little bit of a kink here, so I'm just going to work that with my fingers. Work that out a little bit, straighten it out. There we go. And I think this is the last bead. Actually, let me get... another one of these guys and another one of these guys. So these are more of the emerald bronze ones. I'm just gonna have a second one right here. Oh, I want this to be in front. What am I doing, Bex? Careful that it doesn't kink. We've got a much smaller place to get through, so there we go. Sticking that there where I want it to go. And then 2 more beads, and it'll be both of these smaller gold lines here in the corner. Move these guys out of the way. But yeah, this is a fantastic way to showcase special beads. And this box is full of special beads, I think. So here we go. Here's our little guy. I'm going to go around twice, and then I'm going to pop one more guy onto this bracelet on this side. And it's really easy to finish up because you basically just wrap it around the pipe chain. But yeah, there's going to be a class that Nile does, 2 of them, I think, this coming week on how to work with pipe chain. There's tons of tutorials on his channel on things you can do with pipe chain. I have a few on my channel that I've done. I'm planning on doing another one. I ordered some extras from Sam's because there's always some, besides this that came in the box, you can also get extra pipe chain from that Nile put together with custom colors to go with the rest of this box too. And so I've ordered some of that. So I'm going to have another thing that I can make with pipe chain after that gets here. So I'm just going to go around 3 times, I think, just to end this off. 1, 2, 3. One more here. And then I'm going to cut off my wire. And I still have quite a bit of wire left, but I can use that on other projects. I like to use the 22 gauge craft wire. I'm just going to snip it. Let me get in a little bit closer here. Right here on the inside. I'm going to snip it right there. So that that end is right there. And then this is the fun thing about pipe chain is I'm just gonna squeeze that end into the pipe chain because it's rubber. It'll like smoosh into it. And then you don't have a pokey outy end going through there. Now this is the first half of this bracelet. I am going to wrap the second half the exact same way. And when I come back, after I've wrapped the other half of this bracelet, we'll build ourselves a little bit of a closure to be able to have this stay on our wrist and not have it fall off, because this pipe chain is a little bit short for this purpose, but it's fine because we can deal with it. So I'm going to finish off wire wrapping this end, and when I come back, we will make a little closure. See you soon. All right, I am back, and you can see I've finished my wire wrapping all the way around my cuff, and I'm ready to start attaching some chain and a clasp for closure so that this will stay on my wrist, because it doesn't quite go all the way around like my other cuffs do. Isn't that pretty though? I love that. I love the way the light shines through it. Anyway, so I've gone ahead and taken some 5mm jump rings and I just chained them together like that for my chain. And I'm erring on the side of longer just to make sure that it will absolutely fit. I've also grabbed one of these check glass beads for a dangle bead, and I'm using these. You've heard me tell the story before how I bought these extremely comically short head pins that are not good for anything except making dangles with small beads. So I'm going to be using one of those because, may as well use it since I've got it. All right, I'm just going to bend this over the top here like that, and I don't have to cut that off or anything because it is already comically short. I just need to roll this back to make myself a simple loop with this head pin, like so. And I'm going to open and close this and attach it to one end of my chain. I need to open this a little bit further because it is not open wide enough. There we go. Attach it to my chain. Get that closed. So I like having a little dangle as something to hold onto with my finger when I am doing closing up my bracelets. It's really nice. Now I need to decide if I want my chain to be on this side or if I want my lobster clasp to be on this side. I think I'm going to do my chain on this side and I'm going to attach my lobster clasp on that side. Yeah. All right. So let's grab a jump ring. I'm going to shift this around just a little bit so that I have some space here in this little V area to put my jump ring through like that. Now that I've got my jump ring, I'm just going to attach my chain and then close the jump ring. It's a little bit awkward with my entire bracelet hanging off of it. Let's get that closed completely. Now I've got my chain. Let me just see how that'll fit. Yep. I'll be able to close that. All right, so for this one, I think I want to put my chain through both loops, or my jump ring through both loops on this. I'm going to do two jump rings. One through both loops and then one to attach the lobster clasp that I've got here. So I have this jump ring going through both loops. Close that up. And then I've got a second jump ring that I'm going to attach to this first one and then to my lobster clasp. And that's just so that my lobster clasp has a little more wiggle room to move around without being just attached to this first jump ring that goes through both of these. Just give it more play. All right, now let's see how this works. I'm going to be using my right hand for this, so hold on. Lobster clasp. It's got a nice strong spring on it. Ugh, maybe I need another jump ring for more so I can get the lobster clasp in my fingers. Working better? Aha. I got it on there. All right. So there we go. It works. It stays on. And it's beautiful. And I love it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on one of the ways that you can use the Silversilk pipe chain. It is one of my favorite ways to use it. I've done, as you saw before, I've done a couple of different bracelets like that. I'm having trouble with the lobster clasp. It won't. I'm going to put another jump ring between the lobster clasp and this other one so that I can maneuver it easier, because it's just, I think, too close to the rest of the bracelet and I can't get it open and closed easily because I can't tip it back very easily. I'm gonna put another jump ring of separation in there before I leave you guys, just to, this is why you try stuff on. This is why you make sure it works. So let's just add another guy in here. I want this to close all the way. It's not gonna that way. There we go. Closed. Now I can use this one. Yeah, I just need another degree of separation between my bracelet and the lobster clasp so that I can get that proper articulation to be able to open and close it. There we go. Now I can bend it back and away and get it. That's going to be a lot easier for me. I can fit my finger in here easier in order to use that. Perfect. There we go. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Bye!